Ripley lives again. A teenage girl screams 4 words at a warlord to save her mother.
Leave my mother alone. Bitch!
And if they sound familiar, it's because a completely different hero said almost the exact same thing 39 years ago in a completely different movie. In Aliens, Ripley snarls those same words to protect a terrified little girl.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Same fury, same rhythm. And here's the part nobody's supposed to catch. It's literally the same actress. Sigourney Weaver played Ripley back then, and she plays this Na'vi teenager, Kiri, now. So Cameron didn't recycle a line by accident. He passed his oldest hero's fire straight into his newest one, hidden inside a 14-year-old. And that's your first clue that Kiri isn't really Na'vi at all. She might be something far stranger, because once you understand what she is, you realize the entire war in Fire and Ash is secretly one idea, repeating over and over, until a single family finally breaks the loop. So let's start with the girl, Kiri's impossible birth. All movie long, Kiri is reaching out to Eywa, the living spirit of the planet, and Eywa keeps going silent on her. It quietly breaks her heart, and you keep wondering why the most spiritual kid on Pandora is getting ignored. Then the film drops the answer like a bomb. Kiri has no biological father. None. She was somehow born from Grace's avatar body, with zero explanation, almost like a miracle birth, which points to one staggering possibility. Eywa planted her, meaning Kiri may literally be the planet's own daughter. In the moment that clicks, the ending transforms. When Kiri finally breaks through, we see Eywa's face for the very first time, glowing, endless. And it's framed almost exactly like that famous cosmic star baby from 2001, A Space Odyssey, the image of something brand new being born. Cameron is quietly telling us Kiri is the future, but that same power nearly gets someone she loves killed. Spider's deadly upgrade. Spider is human, and Pandora's air is poison to him. He spends this movie one cracked mask away from suffocating. So in a moment of pure panic, Kiri does something no Na'vi has ever pulled off. She reaches into the planet itself and rewires Spider's body so he can suddenly breathe the air. No mask, nothing. It looks like a gift. It's actually a loaded gun. Because think it through. If one human can be rebuilt to survive here, the human army doesn't need those expensive avatar bodies anymore. They could convert their own soldiers and flood the whole planet. Jake understands that instantly, and it drives him somewhere genuinely dark. For one horrible stretch, he considers killing Spider, a boy he raised as his own, just to make sure that secret dies with him. That's how dangerous Kiri's power really is. And the impossible choice Jake almost makes? It's one of the oldest stories humans have ever told. Jake almost kills. Sit with what Jake nearly does. A father standing over a boy he loves, weighing whether to end that child's life, because a bigger cause seems to demand it. That exact agony has been haunting us for thousands of years. In the Bible, Abraham is told to sacrifice his own son, Isaac, to prove his faith. He raises the blade and is stopped at the very last second. Cameron builds Jake's moment on that same machinery. The impossible love, the crushing sense of duty, the hand that almost does the unthinkable, then freezes. And like Abraham, Jake can't finish it. He chooses the boy. He calls Spider his son, and means every word. It's a 2-minute scene carrying the weight of an ancient story, and it tells you everything about who Jake has become. He's a man who refuses to let grief turn him into a monster, which is exactly what makes the film's villains so unsettling, because they're the version of him that said yes. Sully's Dark Reflections. You'll feel it before you can explain it. Something about the two new bad guys just feels off, like you already know them. That's because they're a dark mirror of our heroes. Jake was a human who genuinely fell in love with this world, and truly became Na'vi. Quaritch is a human wearing a Na'vi body who treats the culture like a disguise for conquest. He's the anti-Jake. And Varang mirrors Neytiri, both fierce spiritual leaders of their people, except Varang's faith is built on rage instead of love. Then the film goes further and gives these two a twisted romance, echoing Jake and Neytiri, but rotted from the inside. One couple is bound by love, the other is fused by grief and the hunger to burn it all down. Cameron even said he wanted to kill off the old humans bad. Na'vi good idea, and this pairing is how he did it. But what actually turned Varang into this? The answer is sitting in the background of her own village. Eywa betrayed Varang. Next time the Ash people appear, don't just take in the fire and the war paint. Look behind them, because their whole tragedy is standing right there, easy to miss. Tucked among their homes are the giant, blackened remains of a destroyed tree. Every Na'vi clan has a sacred home tree at the center of its world. The Ash people had one too, until a volcano erupted and burned everything they had to the ground. And here's the detail that flips the villain completely. As her home died, Varang begged Eywa to save her people. Eywa never came. That silence is where her entire war begins. She didn't turn against the planet because she's evil. She turned against a mother who vanished while her people burned alive. That's not villainy. That's grief that curdles spiraled into hate, the exact same grief driving the Sullys, just pointed the other way. If that reframe hit you, that's the whole reason this channel exists. So take 1 second and subscribe, because the back half only goes deeper. Because the reason all this grief feels so painfully real is that Cameron kept reaching into real-world tragedy to build it. And once you see how, you can't unsee it. Tragedy changed Avatar. Start with something that has nothing to do with Pandora. In an early version of the story, the Gentle Ocean clan was supposed to pick up guns to defend the whales they love. It made complete sense. They were desperate, and the humans were slaughtering their friends. Then, in 2022, the mass shooting in Uvalde happened, and Cameron made a decision that reshaped the entire film. He rewrote it. He refused to make guns look cool or heroic after that, so instead of arming the Na'vi, he had them turn firearms down completely. He said he wouldn't let guns contaminate who these people are. That's why the good guys win with creatures, courage, and the planet itself, not bullets. A real-world heartbreak quietly rewrote a fantasy war. And that same instinct, reaching straight into real pain, is what gave the villain her soul. Varang's hidden pain. That mesmerizing moment where Varang spins curved blades through the flames like she's casting a spell, it wasn't in Cameron's script. It came from the actress. Una Chaplin walked in with a real weapon, called a bujang, showed Cameron what it could do, and choreographed that entire fire dance herself. He loved it so much he kept all of it. But the deeper part is where she found the emotion for it. To play a woman shattered by fire, she pulled from a real disaster. A horrific high-rise fire in London that killed dozens, including people she personally knew. She said she wanted to honor that pain, not perform it. So when Varang's grief feels genuinely real, it's because it is. Real fire, real loss, poured into a blue alien priestess. And that grief isn't just in her performance. It's hidden inside the 2 words on the movie's poster. Fire creates ash. Most people hear the title and picture the setting. Fire people in a burning land. But Cameron buried a much darker idea in those 2 words. In his own explanation, fire is hatred, anger, and violence. Ash is what fire leaves behind, grief and loss. And here's the trap he's describing. That grief doesn't fade. It hardens into fresh anger, which erupts into new violence, which burns and leaves behind even more ash. Fire, then fire again. On and on. It's a cycle, and nearly every character is trapped somewhere inside it. Varang lost her home to fire and became fire. Courage died and came back running on pure revenge. Even our heroes are caught in it, still grieving the son they lost last time. The whole movie is one long warning about hurt people hurting people, which is what makes the final image so quietly powerful, because it's the one family that finally refuses to pass the fire on. Neytiri's ghost weapon. Watch the bow in Neytiri's hands during the last battle, because it's carrying far more than arrows. That bow belonged to her father, the leader who died in the very first film, when their original home was destroyed. He handed it to her right before he fell. It's one of the last pieces of him she has. Then, in the previous movie, the bow broke, which felt like losing him a second time, but her children quietly repaired it. So now she charges into her fiercest fight with her dead father right beside her, in spirit. And that's the secret heart of this entire trilogy. It was never really about war, or blue aliens, or a fight over a planet. It's about what gets handed down: grief, weapons, faith, love, an entire world, from the people who fall to the ones still standing. On Pandora, nothing really dies. It just gets passed to the next person who has to carry it.